Bonsoir on South Africa tonight and welcome back to eNCA. After a long build-up, the ICC Women's T20 World Cup begins this Friday in Cape Town. The city will share hosting duties with Paarl and Gqeberha. South Africa will play Sri Lanka in the opening game at Newlands, with the first ball scheduled to go down at 7 p.m. Well, for more on this, we are joined by former wicketkeeper and right-hand batswoman Savanna Cordes. Good evening, Savanna. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. And yourself?
Very, very good. Thank you. It's World Cup week this week.
I know.
And a few days before the World Cup begins, as I mentioned in my introduction. So my question is, when you think about the mindset that the women Proteas are in, how does that look like building up to a major tournament like the World Cup?
You know, I'd expect right now that they're pretty calm and cool and collected. They've had plenty of time to prepare for such a game and a series like this. The last World Cup was in 2020, where they'd reached the semi-finals and narrowly losing before reaching the finals. So they know big matches and big match temperament that they need to have. So I'm sure they're pretty calm by now.
All right. Just recently, Danae van Niekerk was not picked for the team.
Yeah.
Marizanne Kaap, her wife, asked for special leave just to spend time with her.
Yeah.
Do you think that this disturbs somehow, the unity within the team, the sense of togetherness building up to the World Cup, would you think?
Yes, of course. I mean, Danae was the captain and she suffered an injury and therefore couldn't fulfill her fitness duties prior to the World Cup. So, of course, having a partner and a significant other within the team, of course, is going to bring on a whole another layer of stress and dynamics. But Marizanne Kaap is a consummate professional. She will be able to put herself back into the game, get focused and put that aside, because when it's game time, it's game time.
Well, you did mention earlier on in one of your responses that, the women Proteas have struggled to get past the semi-final.
Yeah.
What is it about that stage of the competition that our girls are struggling, our ladies, I beg your pardon, are struggling to compete against the top nations of the cricketing world?
Well, the difference is we're relatively new to professional cricket. Okay, prior to that, we were playing as amateurs. So, considering the fact that we only recently became professional and the ladies are getting paid for their work, it shows now. The only difference is that with a big match, there is that element of being knocked out of the game. So, of course, that adds added pressure. But now with this team that has come from the previous World Cup and is basically the same team moving forward, they should have that experience under their belt now.
All right, is the local cricket community going to show the same support to this World Cup that we've been seeing over the last few weeks in the SA20 series? The numbers have been amazing.
Yeah.
I do understand that the venues for the World Cup are in traditional cricket locations. Yeah. So obviously one would think that the fans would come in their numbers.
Of course. I mean, cricket is a universal sport, okay? It's not only a men's game. Lots of people go out and support the ladies too. They are playing fantastic cricket, which is exciting. There's fours, there's sixes, there's shots that are quite quite new and
yeah,
a little bit, what's the word?
Good.
Yeah, well, they are good, but also like a bit of creativity. There's a lot of flair that the women's game also has that men just don't always have. They have the brute strength and we have.
Wow, are you taking a jab at men there? I love that. I love that. Good women's spirit. Yeah. All right.
Of course, of course.
Nice, nice. Speaking about the World Cup, it's also a major one for South Africa for the fact that it's the first time that the World Cup has been held on African soil.
Yeah.
In terms of lifting the profile of women's cricket, is this going to be the case when the World Cup comes to a closure, at the end?
Oh, of course it will be. I mean, what would push it over the edge is if South Africa actually win, or at least make it to a semi-final or the final. It is really going to be putting us on the mark and putting Africa as a continent, which is often forgotten on the world stage.
All right, do you think that we can go to the finals?
I do think so. I really do. Like I mentioned before, I mean, last time we just narrowly lost in the semi-final, and the squad is far more experienced now. They've had a couple of tournaments, a couple of series, and they've just won recently in their tri-series. So it's showing that they're going in the right direction and they're gaining that experience and they're gaining that confidence. So I'm pretty sure that they'll be doing pretty well. They'll definitely make it past the group stages, I'm sure.
All right, you're retired now. Let's speak about life away from the cricket pitch. You're a medical practitioner. How's that been going, and how important is it, especially for young girls who want to come through the ranks and you want to compete, you know, at first team level, at national level, in terms of having something to fall back on after cricket?
Yeah, no, it's vital to have something to fall back on. The women's game is developing, and there is a lot more infrastructure around it, and there is a lot more funding around it. So you can have a decent career now. At the time when I was playing, it wasn't the case. So I had to make the decision between, do I have a career or do I continue playing the sport that I love? Obviously, I chose my career. But that shouldn't be the case, and I think that's why now Cricket South Africa is introducing the Legacy Project, where they can try and grow that infrastructure around women's cricket from grassroots levels all the way up. So, of course, they will need to have something to fall back on, but there's always something within the game. And with the Legacy Project, they don't only want to focus on playing and the time that you're playing, but they also want to focus on coaching and looking at the infrastructure around the game, which former players can then fall into.
Why is it that some actually don't go down the cricket route and look for a different avenue to embark on?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of financial, I think, limitations, but again, that's changing now. So hopefully there'll be a lot more women players and a lot more continuing to play a lot longer than I got to.
Fantastic. Savanna Cordes, thank you very much for your time. That's former Women's Proteas wicket keeper, ahead of the Women's World Cup that takes place, of course, this Friday in Cape Town. That's at Newland Stadium. South Africa opening up against Sri Lanka. An important match, and of course an important campaign and World Cup for South Africa, who've never gone past the semi-finals. All right, that's sports on South Africa tonight. Your weather's up next, of course. Salut Bedet, top of the hour. Do stay with us right here on eNCA. It's au revoir for now.